meet bitches, the street bitches, slash, cocoa puff, sweet bitches. Think you wanna eat bitches, but not me.
I tried so
I fuck with these hoes from a distance. The instant they start to catch feelings, I start to... What is it you want from a... I gave you, you gave me. I played you, you played me.
and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I have been to lose it all.
Welcome once again to another live edition of the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega, and like always, joined by the boss, Chris Blackheart. That's that grin on your face, huh?
It is. You know, I'm surprised how happy you are coming off a big loss in Taunton, which we
right away,
which we will get into.
right away.
But I know you're happy because you have a longtime friend
Yes,
with some
indeed.
great stories to educate the listeners on Rhode Island wrestling and wrestling a few years back.
Education is always good, and like you said, longtime friend, one of the controversial characters in New England wrestling.
Even better.
New England Wrestling Alliance original Studley Steve Stallion Stud. Pleasure having you on the Showcase Pod.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It finally happened. You know, we had
I know, right?
a little
Took a
here
couple
and there,
weeks.
but we made it work. And like I've
Oh.
always like to start off with the guests. How does Studley Steve Stallion gets bitten by the pro wrestling bug?
Well, believe it or not, I was riding on my motorcycle. Honest to God, this is a true story. I pulled into the gas station, and do you remember Tiger Shock?
Yes.
I would say Tiger Shock was working at a gas station on, I think it was Atwood Avenue. I pulled in there to get gas, and I think I was like, probably about 185, 190. I had just really started going to the gym religiously. And he goes, oh, you know, you could be a wrestler. And I'm thinking to myself, shit. Now, I've been a wrestling fan since I was like 6. When I got the bug at 6 years old, my father and I used to go to the Civic Center constantly. I mean, every friggin' month he would take me. And Dave Padula actually was a childhood friend of mine. And his father used to work as a security guard at the Civic Center. And he used to get us tickets. And a lot of times we would sit front row, second row, you know. And it was great, man. That's how I originally got the bug. But again, Tiger Shock is the one that introduced me to Rocco D'Alessandro. I had no training at all, none, zero. I trained while I worked. We were doing shows with like Greg Valentine, Tito Santana, Virgil, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And until I went to Salisbury Beach, that's where I learned how to wrestle. That's where I legitimately learned how to wrestle. Tony Atlas spent a lot of time with me. Perry Satin spent a lot of time with me. John Cronus, R.I.P., spent a lot of time with me. A lot of guys did. A lot of guys in Salisbury. Big City Mike, John Callahan, all spent time with me. All showed me the right way. Even Knuckles Nelson spent time with me. Oh my God, I'm trying to think who I didn't mention. But these guys spent so much time with me to get me to the point where I was trained the right way and not hurting people. Because if you know anything about me, I used to hurt people, and that's not the way to wrestle, obviously.
Yeah.
And, you know, New England Wrestling Alliance back in the day was a big shoot fight.
Yes.
And anybody that tells you different, they're full of shit. Once we got trained and came back, that's when things started to be different. And it's funny, once I got trained and came back, I went to Yankee Pro Wrestling for a while.
Yep.
And that's a whole other story altogether. So
Okay, so you know you start watching wrestling, and at 6 years old you're going to shows with your father. Obviously, we took a ride down memory lane, and take us back to your initial matches in the NEWA. Which guys that you get to wrestle against? Who were some of the guys that were there at that time when you were getting started?
well, I mean, Dragonfly and I had epic battles. Epic battles. I think I fought Dragon probably every show for 6-7 months. Anthony Ruffo and I, we had our feud. Cranston Stadium, Woonsocket. I did a coffin match. What else? West Warwick Civic Center.
Yeah.
So I would say Dragonfly and Anthony were probably my biggest opponents in New England wrestling.
Okay. Now, going back, you were a flashy character. You know, you had and like I said, we were talking before going in on the air here. Uh, you know, you had the airbrush singlets, and you were a
I did.
flashy character. You stood out, and yourself and Gorgeous Gino were two of the characters that I watched that caught my eye. Where does
I
that come
actually,
about?
I actually gave Gorgeous Gino his name.
Okay.
Gorgeous Gino started as the Hollywood Kid, and that was Rocco's creation. And I saw something in Gino that nobody else saw because he was so skinny, and he could talk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with a name that was similar to mine: Studley, Steve, Stallion, Gorgeous Gino, Giovanni. You can see the similarities.
Okay.
And I started taking him under my wing, and even though I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I showed him a lot of stuff, and he kind of elevated himself in the New England scene, and I think he ended up in Ring of Honor for a while.
Yeah, he
So,
did. He
yeah.
did some good stuff along the way. It's funny how
G-Spot.
the G Spot. Yes, he worked for Sheldon Goldberg and
Yeah.
other groups in New England.
I was very proud of him, man. Very proud of him. When I
So-
saw that shit, I was really proud of him.
So in the beginning, even though you guys had similar characters, was there any heat or tension between both of you guys once the train
yeah.
got going?
Oh, yeah. Because what happened was, you remember Misdemeanor?
Yes.
Do you remember the Torture Squad?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
With
So,
Thrash and all you guys.
Yeah. So they were giving Misdemeanor a push, and I had the world title, and we wrestled in North Attleboro, I believe, and I was set, to drop the strap to Misdemeanor, and Gino ended up not scripted, came out, hit me with, I don't know what he hit me with, I can't even remember, it's been so long. But that's how I lost. That's how I ended up losing the match, was getting hit by Gino. And then I wrestled Gino in North Providence and beat the shit out of him. And that was the end of that. I think I pressed him. I think I pressed that kid like 10 times over my head, honestly. If you ever see that match, it's crazy.
Was Rocco upset at that?
Very upset. I got screamed at for that. That was his golden boy, dude.
Yeah.
And I killed his gimmick in one night.
Yeah.
So yeah, he wasn't happy with me. That thing didn't make TV for a while.
So, speaking of television, Stud, this is back, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, this had to be around 90, 92, 93 when you broke in?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like 90, 92, I think.
So at that time, like I said, you had the flashy airbrush singlets, like kind of like the RBD style. But if I'm not mistaken, you had that first, right?
I did.
You were.
Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously, I can't hold a candle to RVD and never will. But yeah, the airbrush thing, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did that way back, way back. I had a guy at the mall that used to do it for me.
Yep.
I'd bring him my singlet, and he'd do whatever I wanted on it. And it was funny because if you look at my original gimmick, which was called the Stud, I had a bow tie, I had those Brutus Beefcake gloves, and I had the matching pants. I never wore a singlet.
Okay.
And then once I started getting singlets airbrushed, that's where I switched up.
Okay. Chris, any questions for Steve?
I'm getting educated. This almost reminds me of the Savio Vega episode.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't living in Rhode Island at the time. I wasn't wrestling. And put this way, when he was wrestling in '92, I still couldn't find Kowalski's. Which is true. Literally, because there was no GPS back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You gotta get MapQuest, Chris. That's why.
That's
That
what
was like- that's how you
MapQuest
got
was
around back
awful.
then.
Yeah.
No, but these are the stories that we have to tell because people did not know how it was back then. And
Yeah.
when I moved to Rhode Island, I think it was '03. At that time, the interconnect was still going, and Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance was still going.
Yeah.
And I would watch it. You would catch it. You would see Steve Savage. Travis Savage was on there, and I just remember just seeing the stuff, and I'm like, and I know with Steve, I don't think we ever worked any events.
I don't think so either. But yeah, I think you're talking about Primal. Because Travis Savage.
Yes.
Yeah, Primal Conflict came after. Yep.
Yeah, but it was
I'm the one that took Travis in.
Yeah.
I don't think he wrestled for Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance. He may have after that. Yeah. But I was the one who originally broke him in. You know why? Because I used to watch Travis on Interconnect. It came on like after we were on, I guess. Because at one time Rocco had a slot from 11 to 12, right?
Yeah.
And then 11 to 1 because it was a 2-hour show.
2-hour show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so during that time frame, it was 2 hours. I would watch Travis afterwards, who was on at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was always impressed with the way that kid could talk on the fly. He was doing ridiculous, stupid shit, but, and they were backyard wrestling too. And I was like, why is this kid wasting himself in the backyard? He needs to be trained. Yeah. So Dragon, myself, Livewire, we all went down to his house and we started training him. And before long, he knew what he was doing. And I brought him into Primal, and him and his girlfriend were legendary in Primal. So,
yeah, definitely a talent that was way before his time. Because even when he was doing those ridiculous things and crazy things, then it was kind of like the stuff that went popular after with the stunts.
It was
the jackass stuff and all that stuff. This kid was doing that in the Interconnect channel back then.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was way before that. Never got credit for it either.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Another one, rest in peace.
So, rest in peace.
We've lost so many brothers over the last, few years. It's amazing. Yeah. And I say that, knowingly how many brothers we've lost in this business, Yeah. But
definitely
a lot of guys cut down before their time.
Going back to the TV slots, for all those people that are listening and watching nowadays, Rhode Island Interconnect channel, which was a local cable access television back then, like you said, Rocco had a 2-hour slot, but if I'm not mistaken, he also had, the interview show Off the Ropes. He had Thursdays where he had another 2 hours.
Hosted by myself. Hosted by myself and Bob Cleese.
Yes. So you guys were on television all the time.
Oh my God.
So
dude, we were on TV Wednesdays for 2 hours in the afternoon, Thursday from 3:30 to 4 o'clock, Saturday from 11 to 1, and Sunday mornings, I think 10:30 to 11.
Yep.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot
when you
of
think
time,
about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure.
And then I upped the ante. What happened was when I started Primal, I got the time slot behind the New England Wrestling Alliance. And we had a show March 3rd, 2000, which was my first show as a booker. And Rocco obviously helped me out a lot with that because I had no idea what I was doing. And that first show, we had a battle for control of the independents, New England independents. Once I won that at the end, because Rocco actually turned on Pierre the Mountie, which was the best thing I've ever seen in my life, hit him with a bottle. And I think we did that first too, by the way. And then we took control of the show. So from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning, we were on TV every week. And we were able to do whole events. I would show whole events on that time slot because an event is about 3 hours long. And we would call it a free preview, but it would happen like 2 weeks after the show.
Okay. So, being all that time and getting all that TV time at the time, talk to us about, going out and people recognizing you and
Oh, God. I'll never forget. We did, Rocco, we had a gym in Oneyville, right? And I don't know if you were there for that. Did you ever hear about the gym in Oneyville?
No, that was before my time.
So when we started, the first gym we had was in Oneyville. It was on the 3rd floor. We had to lug the ring up and down the elevator every single time we had a show. And it wasn't a normal ring. It was a boxing ring. And Rocco didn't get a real wrestling ring till years later. So we were bumping in a boxing ring with a little bit of carpet on it, and that was it. Okay. So a couple of shows of that, believe me, it hurts after a while. But so we would have to bring the whole ring down the elevator. It was a nightmare. So anyway, all of a sudden one day we're in practice. We would have practice like 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Yep. This guy Ed Duckworth from the Providence Journal shows up. And Rocco has him start taking pictures and, of everybody. And everybody thought it was going to be like a big thing on the New England Wrestling Alliance. So it comes time for the paper to come out. I go to the store to get the paper, and on the front page of the sports section is me. And it says Studley Stallion. And you know how much heat I got for that? Do you have any idea? There was so many jealous motherfuckers. Oh my God, dude, you have no idea. Yeah. I got... Oh, man, because it wasn't, I had no idea. Everybody thought, it was planned that way. It wasn't. Yeah. It was never planned that way. It was supposed to be everybody. I don't know why he did that, but.
You stood out, obviously.
Dude, that was crazy. And that's when people started, they were like, oh, shit, aren't you Studley Steve? And I was like, nope.
Okay. So now you're cutting your teeth in the New England Wrestling Alliance, but eventually you start to deviate and go out, and you said you ended up in Salisbury and working there, and also Yankee Pro. So talk to us about Salisbury Beach, your experiences there, working down there.
Okay. So I get to Salisbury Beach. Rip Morrison and oh my God, I'm gonna screw it up. Brutal Bob Evans.
Okay.
Those are the two guys that brought me into Salisbury, and Brutal Bob pushed the hell out of me to get me to Salisbury. I show up in Salisbury, and probably like 5 guys from the New England Wrestling Alliance followed me. I brought Dave. I brought a bunch of other guys. They needed workers at the time.
Yeah.
So I brought a bunch of other guys down there, gave them the opportunity as well. But I got to tell you, I think one of the best matches I've ever had in my entire career was against the Eliminators in Salisbury Beach. And for anybody that doesn't know who the Eliminators are, obviously, it's Perry Satin and John Cronus. They were one of the most feared tag teams in the world. They had just gotten back from Japan. For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, Perry took a liking to me. And Perry didn't like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he took a liking to me, and they spent time with me. And the match I had with them was 2 out of 3 falls. I was wrestling with a guy who was called Freight Train Fulton, and that was my tag partner.
Yep.
And at the beginning of the match, well, first of all, the week before, Bruiser Costa, got his femur broken by that total elimination.
Wow.
Do you know how hard it is to break your femur?
Yeah, man.
So they shattered his femur the week before. So everybody was petrified to wrestle the Eliminators.
Mm-hmm.
But Perry was like, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Well, about 4 minutes into the match, Perry knocks Freight Train out. So he can't even stand up on the apron. So now I got to wrestle the entire match by myself. The best part about it is they put me over in the first fall. And that was huge, man. I'd never been over on somebody like Perry. You know what I mean? John did drop me on my neck from the top rope after that, but I guess it comes with the push, I guess.
Yes, yep, definitely.
But dude, Salisbury was an experience in itself, man. We would get there on a Friday afternoon. We would wrestle Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, go home on Monday. For 3 days, we would wrestle, get up the next day. Most of us slept at Atlas's house on the floor, his beach house. Mm-hmm. And then we would get up, and we had a routine. Atlas and I would go eat breakfast, and then we would go to the gym, and then we would end up at Champs Arena, and I would start my training. But I got to tell you, man, even back then, that must have been like, what, 95 maybe? Mm-hmm. 95, 96?
Yep.
Atlas was putting up 715, 714 on the bench. Wow. And I'm spotting him. And I'm thinking to myself, and I was jacked. I was like 220. My arms were like friggin' 19 inches around. I was jacked. And I'm thinking to myself, if this guy drops this, there's no way I'm picking this up. And he did, man. He did like 7 reps, no problem. He was unbelievable. Even at that point, he was amazing. He still is.
Yeah, he still looks good. I just seen Tony a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yes.
Tony actually took me to a show in Maine for Tony Rumble. I wrestled the Pink Assassin. Mm-hmm. And that was my little push with Tony Rumble. But that was itself a whole other story.
Okay, so now from that time on, you mentioned before Yankee Pro Wrestling. How does that happen? How do you end up working for Joe Eugenio, which we had?
So what happened was, when I came back from Salisbury, the New England Wrestling Alliance had changed dramatically. They were pushing Marvin the Maniac. He was wrestling Jim Neidhart at the Cumberland Fest.
Yep. I
think I wrestled Steamroller or Bulldozer or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. And they were pushing other people, which was fine. I had my time. That was great. But I needed to do something else. So I met Joe. I don't even remember Kyle Storm. That's how I met Joe. It was Kyle. Mm-hmm. So Kyle and Matt Storm told me to go and see Joe Eugenio. Kyle broke me in. And I wrestled the Storm Brothers like 2 or 3 times. Then I wrestled, one match I had, it was me and Mark Basil. You remember him?
Yeah.
So me and Mark Basil wrestled the Storm Brothers, and I got hit in the head with a pool stick. and they were still chanting my name. Snooker's match was next, and I got so much heat for that. And Snooker was so pissed, but I guess I got over at some point.
Yeah,
So it was fun. I can't tell you a story though. I wrestled for Joe. I can't even remember where it was. It was some club he did or something. I don't remember. But I'm set. First of all, I was tagging with Aaron Morrison. Aaron Morrison was a Yankee Pro guy.
Yeah.
But I gave him a gimmick, and they used to call him Adorable Aaron Morrison. So it was Studley Steve and Adorable Aaron. And we were the ultimate males. That's what it was. And of course, Joe, he had to pull out the sunglasses. We had to wear the sunglasses so he could sell them and stuff. So it was great.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's him and I, and we're set to wrestle the Power Twins. And I don't know if you know anything about, you remember the Power Twins, anybody does. But
Yeah,
they were these
Dave and
big,
Dean, the Power Company.
yeah, Power Twins, Power Company, whatever the hell they were.
Yeah.
Big guys who honestly couldn't wrestle for shit.
Yeah.
And I out of respect, because I had just come from Salisbury and I knew how to approach people now, I said to them, what do you want to do for a finish? That's all I said, because I knew they were going over.
Yeah.
And one of them says to me, sit down, lace up your boots, and I'll talk to you after. Now, of course, I got Doug as my manager, Tiny, the terrible.
Yeah.
And now Tiny's going off. Stud, you're going to let him talk to you like that? What's the matter with you, Stud? That's not Studley Steve. I know. No, you can't talk to you like that. No. So, of course, me all gassed up, I get in the ring, and about 3-4 minutes in, I notice this guy is not working with me. Like, I'm hitting him. He's not selling. He's looking at me like an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I gave him a Cesaro uppercut before Cesaro was even a thing.
Yeah.
And I broke that dude's nose. And all of a sudden, his nose was shattered. He was bleeding everywhere. And I can hear him yelling at me, oh, you broke my nose. You broke my nose. Whatever. So I do my spot. He tags out to his goofy brother or whatever. He come in the ring, and I do the spot or whatever. I go back to the locker room, and he says, you broke my nose, brother. You broke my nose. I said, sit down, unlace your boots. We'll talk about it later. Honest to God. And Doug is pushing me out the door, dude. Pushing me out the door. So,
good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Was that the last time Eugenio booked you?
No, actually, it wasn't. I worked for Joe a couple more times after that, believe it or not. So I guess he respected it.
Yeah,
Who
well,
knows?
you know, they have to respect that you're standing up for yourself, you know.
Bro, I came in there. I was willing to work with those guys, and they showed me nothing but disrespect. And you know what? You know me. I'm not going to take that. So, no way.
Definitely, you can't take
no
shit
more
in
than
this
you
business.
would, no more than Chris would, no more than Dan would, anybody. Nobody would take that disrespect.
Definitely.
If you don't stand up for yourself in that type of atmosphere, they're always going to pick on you.
Yeah. Now, Stud, after that run with Eugenio, at any given point, do you come back to the NEWA?
Yes. Yep, and win the world title 2 more times.
So at that point, was NEWA kind of like running a little bit less events at that time? Because there was a period of time.
No, they were doing the Manton Community Center every week.
Okay, that's
And-
when I started coming in.
Right. And they gave the strap to Bad Boy Billy Black. So you must remember me wrestling Bad Boy.
Yes. Yeah.
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 When I was doing push-ups on his chest and stuff, he was getting all pissed off at me.
I remember that.
Yep.
That's the guy that I would like to know where he's at. He's been missing in action, Rob.
Has he?
Yeah, haven't heard from him in a long time.
Do you ever hear the story about a Studley moment?
No, let's hear it, man. That's
So
what we're here.
So off the ropes, right? So we do off the ropes every Sunday. You know, they tape it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed. Actually, no, we did it like Tuesday, and it showed on Sunday, whatever.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea of I wanted my own Piper's Pit. So I came up with the idea of a Studley moment. And the first guest I had on was Bad Boy Billy Black. I was willing to work with Bad Boy. My first question was, why do you have such a problem with Gorgeous Gino Giovanni? Because they were wrestling every single show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a legit question, you know, and he knew I was going to ask it. So he tries to grab the mic from me, push me back, and go, I don't want you to run your mouth anymore. And as soon as he said that, I snapped and I beat the fuck out of him on live TV. And there was nothing he could do about it. And I even told him he had a $3 outfit before I beat his ass. I said, you got a $1 shirt, $1 pair of pants, and $1 shoes. Yeah, that was a good one. I caught a lot of heat for that one, too. That was when Wolverine was ducking me, too, by the way.
Oh,
and if you're hearing this, Wolverine, I didn't forget that.
Wolverine was ducking. Yeah, Rob.
Wolverine had the world title. He wouldn't wrestle me.
For whatever reason,
Never did.
Rob used to be sensitive about his black shirt and his jeans
Yeah, I
when
know. I
when
know.
when
Until I
Rocco
ripped it
used
off of him. Yep. Oh, I'm probably gonna catch heat for that. So.
Hey, it is what it is, man. We
No,
just
hey, everything I said is all true, brother.
we just
And there are people there that watched it. So.
want to be
And
open and
if you dig deep enough, I'm pretty sure there's tapes out there of it. I
oh,
know Ish has all the New England Wrestling Alliance tapes. So
definitely has to be some tapes out there. I got some
absolutely.
tapes that I kept that Rock gave to me because I used to go and borrow tapes off Rocco.
Oh, nice,
You
nice,
know
nice, nice.
he used to have the boys over for the pasta dinner
Yeah.
sometimes and stuff like
Yep.
that. Uh,
Yeah. Rocco's a
so
good guy.
Stud, when do you decide that you just wanna run your own shows?
So I took probably like 5 years off at that point. I was done. I became a mortgage broker and I was pursuing other things and making some money. Actually, I'm lying. I went to Chaotic first. I forgot about that. So
Hmm.
before I stopped, I went to Chaotic Wrestling, and I I actually managed. No, that's not true. I did take the 5 years off. When I came back, I started Primal. After Primal was done, I went to Chaotic. That's what it was,
Okay.
and I managed Anthony Rufo, believe it or not. So
He was
when he
teaming up
was the
with
king of
Gino.
chaos. Yeah. Well, no, he was by himself. He was the king of chaos.
Okay.
But
All right.
when I booked Anthony and Gino, they were the Millennium Killers.
Yes.
First match I had for them was the Pitbulls. They had to.
Hmm.
It just didn't make sense for them to wrestle anybody else.
Was that when Chaotic just opened up? When they
Yes.
bought the name
Yep.
from a Yatat organization, I believe, and they were
I believe
doing
Randy was running it, I think.
and they were doing the guarantee contracts.
Yes. Yes. That was because of me.
All right, tell
That guarantee shit was because of me. Because Rich Palladino was the first one. I had Rich as a ring announcer. And he went to Chaotic, got guaranteed money or whatever, and I lost him. So I got Joe Bruin instead, who was just as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was for a minute there, I was nervous because all of a sudden Rich is like, I can't do your shows anymore. I'm like, why? He's like, well, Chaotic's doing this thing with these. I'm like, what? So yeah. And the first thing he said to me when I came to Chaotic, the first thing Randy said was, Studley Steve has done one thing that is huge, and it's called brand recognition. And to this day, people still know what Primal is. No one's forgotten.
So let's
I
go
mean,
back.
I had guys in Primal that I was showcasing when nobody even knew they existed. Ruckus was amazing. I saw him in Combat Zone, and I had to have him. Z-Bod, rest in peace. He was awesome. Nick Burke, awesome.
Yeah.
Who else? Shit. Jamie Payne, Nemesis, Scarecrow, Cue Ball, Gino Martino, Anthony. I mean, Jose wrestled New Jack. I mean, it was one of the craziest matches I've ever seen. It was a wine bottle match. It was absolutely insane. I don't know if you remember that, though. That was the last Primal show we did, actually.
The one with New Jack, right?
Yeah. It was called Back and Jack. But it also had Luis Ortiz was on the show, who was awesome. Unbelievable talent. Man, I had mad people on that show.
You had Astro Man. I remember him wrestling.
Oh, Astro Man, yeah, he was a lunatic, dude. That dude would bleed before he left the dressing room.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do was bleed. And then one night I had him wrestle Cronus because I made Cronus the hardcore champion. And he defended it against Astro Man. All they did was just, oh my God, they both came back. They looked, I think I got a picture of it somewhere. It was so bad. Then we did a show in Bill Ricca. No, was it Bill Ricca? No, it was at the AmeriCal Civic Center. That was the biggest show we've ever done. I had Tommy Dreamer, I had New Jack, I had Cronus, I had Balls Mahoney, I had Bilvis Wesley, and then all our guys. And the main event was Tommy Dreamer and Jose Perez. And that show was off the hook. I can't say enough good things about that show. It actually got us aired on WNDS in New Hampshire too. So we got an actual legit time slot where we had commercials and everything.
So, I know we got into it right off track. I want to go back to when you first initiate Primal Conflict. I believe the first show was at Club Starts. I was at that show when they were doing that NEWA against Primal deal.
Right, but that wasn't the first show, believe it or not.
That wasn't
The first show was at a Legion Hall. I wrestled Dragonfly. There was a bunch of guys on that show.
Okay.
But that was our first legitimate show. And the reason why is because I had a time slot before I had an actual organization. And Dragon and I used to sit in his bedroom and commentate over other people's shit. Back then, we were stealing people's footage and airing it as our own. I don't know if you remember this, but I'm sure a lot of people do.
Elite Wrestling?
Yes.
Yes,
That was the original. That was the origins of Primal Conflict.
Okay.
Way before, the Elite.
Okay.
We were Elite before the Elite was ever even heard of. So
yeah, I remember
that was me trying to put a fucking show together without a show, pretty much.
Yeah. Hey, it was
And
smart,
Dragon
man.
and I. What's that?
It was really smart to do that because you
Yeah,
guys
but
took
people got
footage
upset,
from all
man.
over,
All people got upset. I remember Joe Eugenio calling me, freaking out, using my footage. And then, see, Dragon and I would change our voice to do the commentary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like the fight doctor, Mr. Isaac. And I was, what's my name? Robert Briscoe. That was my name. So when Joe Eugenio got on the phone and I answered the phone, hello, my name is Robert Briscoe. He's like, who's Robert Briscoe? I'm like, you're calling me. You're calling me. Oh, it's great. I fucked with him so bad. And to this day, I just totally exposed myself. But
oh,
yeah,
you did now because Joe was
Oh,
on
well.
last week. He probably watched.
I know. Listen, hi, Joe. It's your favorite son.
Well, definitely, going back to that, that's smart.
Can we
man.
tell you? Doesn't have a Eugenio story?
Yeah, we had
midget?
fun. It was a way to roll it out without rolling it out, And then we did a show at like a fireman's hall and just put a bunch of men. After that, we had footage. I think that show was like 4.5 hours long, so we had plenty of footage.
Okay, all right. Going back, we kind of pass on to other things. We want to go back to the Joe story with Tiny.
Oh God. So yeah. Okay. So So Doug and I go to a show for Joe, and I can't even remember who I wrestled. This little blonde dude. He was kind of stocky, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, he blew his knee out like 2 minutes into the match, and so I had to like work with him to make him look halfway deep. Anyway, so Doug wrestled. I think his brother. I think he wrestled his brother. Pretty sure. I can't remember, but he might have. But it's irrelevant. Anyway, so after the show, Doug is looking to get paid. And, I was at the point where I really didn't care either way. I just wanted to wrestle at that point. But Doug.
Yeah.
He wasn't having it. So he asked him for his money, and Joe told him no. And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, he's got him on the floor. I literally shot on Joe Eugenio to the floor. And I think that was the last time Tiny ever worked for Joe. I think Joe could probably tell you that better than I can.
Yeah, I forgot.
That was a good one.
Forgot all
I'm the one who
about
pulled
that.
him off. So.
Well, next time Joe's back on, we'll have to get into
Yeah,
that.
definitely ask him. I'm sure he can tell you a lot better than I did.
So, Stud, what was the vision behind Primal? I know you guys made a lot of noise. What was the vision and why did it end it?
So my vision for that, actually, there was a guy, his name was Ed Dewars, was sitting at Wes's Rib House, believe it or not. And it's like 2:00 in the morning. And I'm trying to come up with a name for this organization because we couldn't use Elite Wrestling Alliance anymore because we had just had a bad rap at that point. So we needed something else,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of stuff. And all of a sudden he comes out with, oh, what about Primal? And I'm like, oh shit. I said, what about Primal Conflict? He's like, oh yeah. He goes, what about Primal Conflict Wrestling? I'm like, shit, that's really close to ECW. And now I'm starting to think. Paul Heyman had just closed ECW, and there were a bunch of guys that went to WWE. But there were a bunch of guys that they didn't hire, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So all those guys needed work. So my whole idea was, why can't I bring these guys to New England and run shows up here?
Yep.
So, yeah, many people say that we copied ECW. Yes, we did. Absolutely, 100%. Because it was over. And at the time, fans wanted more. Hardcore wrestling was like through the roof. Everybody wanted to see it. And Heyman kind of just walked away from it. So you had a lot of guys out there that weren't working at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sandman, Balls Mahoney. I know they went eventually, but they didn't go right away, So I got all those guys. The other thing I did was I talked to Danzig in Jersey from Combat Zone. And him and I had a really good rapport of sending people back and forth to Jersey. So, with Combat Zone was already on the map, and they were doing the shit in Jersey. So getting that talent up here was a win-win for everybody. You know what I mean? That's how I got Ruckus. That's how I got Nick Burke. That's how I got Z-Bar.
Yeah.
That's how I got all of them, really. There was another guy, too. Hurricane Kid, I think was his name. He was amazing. I had an outside show in Billerica. It was in the rain, and they wanted to cancel the show, and we wouldn't cancel it. We just kept going, and it was pouring. I remember having to go underneath the picnic tables. They had like an awning, and I think Balls Mahoney wrestled Nemesis in like a hardcore match in the middle of the rain. And Jose and the Vertebraker, another great guy, Verdi, by the way. Jose and Verdi against Nick Burke and Zeba, and that was Nick Burke's first appearance because they used to call themselves the Softcore Connection. And so I got to showcase. That was the whole idea, was to showcase the talent up here. And why did it stop? It got to the point where I couldn't make sense of doing shows with the amount of money that I was making doing mortgages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the time, it was one or the other. I couldn't put the time in. Plus, I had moved to Vegas in 2000. So, I'm sorry, not 2000, 2010. So when I moved in, was it 2010 or 2003? Because my last show with Primal was 2002. So it must have been like 2003, 2004. I moved to Vegas, and that's when I called it quits.
Okay.
But I've had, a couple opportunities to start it back up again, but I don't know, man. Right now, I got an 8-year-old now who literally takes up all my time. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I just started going back to the gym. So. What's that?
You never say never, man. It's never too late.
I just started going back I think I've been back in the gym for about a month. I mean, I just got sick, so it just knocked me on my ass. But, who knows? Who knows what I'll do? That's the one thing, I don't even know what I'm going to do, so.
Any questions, Chris?
We'll have to wait and see.
No, I'm enjoying the stories because that was slightly before my time, especially down here. So just seeing, and even being in the scene, if you look at 02, 03, just seeing how it came together, because at that time I was wrestling, but I wasn't involved in anything. So it's kind of nice to, literally see the vision and see how it came together.
Yeah.
Chris, you wrestled UCW, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like Anthony, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, Anthony was a good dude. Anthony and Gino and
absolutely
Travis and Gary, and then Sonny D and
Iceberg.
Yeah.
Yes, the Iceberg. Remember that show? I tried running NEWA reunion. You were part of it. I forgot.
Oh shit! Yeah, I wrestled. When the hell did I wrestle? It was outside.
Yeah, it was outside the Davy Lopes Rec Center and the basketball courts.
That. Oh my god, I totally forgot about that. That was technically my last match.
That was your last match?
Well, yeah, actual match. I mean, I did some shit for Primal, but
I think
was that after Primal?
I think I had you wrestle Tim Kilgore. This kid Tim Kilgore.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah.
So let me tell you a story about that. Okay. So fucking Jose Perez, right? That prick who I can't fucking stand, right? Fucking who I never liked, and he knows it, right? So fucking Jose Perez comes to me in the dressing room. Now I haven't wrestled in, God, it must have been like a year at that point, And he comes to me and he goes, "Hey, stud," he goes, "Not for nothing, but the kid you're wrestling likes to shoot." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, he's gonna shoot on you, stud." I'm like, "No, he's not. The guy's looking at him. He's looking like he's scared, man. What's the matter with you?" He's like, No, he's gonna shoot on you, stud. He's gonna shoot right on your leg. I'm like, "No, he's not." Right? So I get in the ring. Now, in the back of my head, I'm thinking this guy's gonna shoot on me, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, but I hit that kid with such a clothesline.
Yeah.
That was the receipt, and that was Jose's fault, by the way.
Okay.
So, I bet you never knew why I did that, did you?
Nah, man. I just thought you
now
were.
You do.
I just thought you were just laying out the rust,
No, I really wasn't. It was fucking Jose.
Oh, okay.
Thought he was funny.
He got you going there.
Yeah, he did.
That was great,
man.
He's
gonna shoot on you, stud. He's gonna shoot on you.
I wanted to get the guys together. It was unfortunate I couldn't have like Dave Jackson and Livewire and all those guys, but I was happy that I had you.
Livewire was in the audience, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was in the audience. Yep. Had Headhunter, which he passed away shortly after that.
Oh my God, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's another
Tony.
one.
Yep. He was always a good guy to me and my father, so
Always to
always
me too, man. He was always good to me.
uh I was glad that I was able to do that, and it was a lot of fun. And that was the last time that I think I saw Bad Boy Billy Black in a ring too, other than him
Yeah.
showing up to random shows. Uh
Right.
yep, so that was a good time. Uh
Mm.
any stories you want to share going back to, you said after the run with Chaotic, not Chaotic, Primal was done, you came back and you did a slight return with Chaotic
I
managing
did.
Anthony. How was
I
that
did.
like?
Well, I got to tell you, Chaotic is a very, very, very professional organization. I don't know if you guys have any experience with Chaotic, but even back then, they ran things a lot differently than I did. They
Hmm.
may not have the brand recognition back then that I had, but they had the talent. They had guys that nobody saw at that point. I think, shit. I think, oh man, there was so many guys down there. I can't even remember. Damian Sandow, I think, was there at the time.
Yep, yep, he
Um,
was.
who else? I know John Walters was there.
John Lewis
Louis
Ortiz,
Ortiz.
Wagner
Yep.
Brown.
Yep.
Oh, they had
Yep.
Ronnie and
Yep. Slick Wagner
Ecstasy.
Brown. That's another one.
Yeah,
And he was in Salisbury too.
yeah,
He had made it up to Salisbury.
yeah. They
So
had Ronnie D, Edward G, Ecstasy, all
Ronnie
those
D. I
guys.
remember. Yeah. Oh, and I remember him too. Another one, Edward Ecstasy. He was also in Salisbury. Well, you want to hear about Edward Ecstasy? Edward Ecstasy came to Rocco first
Yep.
to try out,
Mhm.
and for whatever reason, he decided to go someplace else. So him, Knuckles Nelson. I remember the day they showed up together.
Yeah. Yeah, all those
So
guys. You remember Onyx?
I do.
Yeah, Onyx. A funny story there is that Onyx set up a ring in a garage he used to have over here in Pawtucket, and Ecstasy used to come and train with us at that in that garage
No shit.
for a while. Yeah, so all three of us were training at one point in time in
Oh wow.
Onyx's garage over in Pawtucket.
I
For
think I booked Onyx my first show.
Yeah, you might have. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I did.
yeah.
Him and his tag partner. I also booked Vampire too. I don't remember
The
what his name
Vampire
was.
Kid. I have
Yeah.
no idea who the kid was,
Oh, I
but I
almost had
seen
it.
him.
Ivan something. Ivan. I had it on the tip of my tongue too. Shit. That first Primal show. I went to like 6 different shows and scouted 6 different places to bring in talent for that show.
Mm.
So I went to a hardcore wrestling show by Joe Bruin. I
Mhm.
grabbed a lot of guys from that. And we would do like cameo appearances for Joe too. Like we would come in as like a faction and stuff. We did that for a while. I
Okay.
remember doing a few of those shows up in Seekonk. But yeah, I did that for a while. You ever wrestle the American Legion post in Seekonk?
The Seacon, yeah, I've wrestled there for different people.
Where you
Not,
got to dress downstairs?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I've done a
that
few
was
shows
good.
there. Actually, for Joe, I worked a few shows there. Then
You know,
Eugenio tried running there.
I was just gonna say that. Do you know the first show I ever did at that Legion Hall was for Coastal Pro Wrestling?
Okay.
And I think was that Joe? Or
No,
was
I
it
think
Coastal Pro,
Sylvana?
that was Nick
I
Nick
think of Nicky's
Steele's
dad.
dad.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nick Steele, Nightmare Nick
That's
Steele.
right.
yeah. Frank
Didn't that
Castahina.
change though? That changed names, didn't it? What did that become, I wonder?
I think
Because it was Coastal Pro for a while, and then
Yep.
they changed the name, I remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, and
I
then
don't
after that
remember.
they closed shop
Right.
because Nicky went back to working for Yankee Pro and Power League and all.
Were you in the New England Wrestling Alliance when Rocco paid Sylvana Souza to come down and try to train us?
Nah, that was before my time.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that
met
was a good
Souza
one.
afterwards at Joe's.
Well, see, Souza's right-hand guy was Steve Bradley, all right?
Yep.
And he would bring Steve Bradley to all the NEWA shows.
Mhm.
And because Superbad Steve Bradley was so close to Studley Steve Stallion, he immediately hated me. So, I mean, rest in peace, buddy. I never had a problem with the guy, but
Yep.
you know what I mean? But
Yep.
yeah, that was some unnecessary heat back in the day. But I guess I kind of brought that on myself.
Yeah, I think
Because
he,
there was, let me tell you one more quick story. All right. And this is going to make me look like absolute shit, but I'm going to tell you it anyway. So I go to the show in Maine, right? I get to the show and they want me to work with one of their guys. This was before I was trained. Okay. Somebody, I can't even remember who it was that booked me on this show, but I drove 3.5 hours to Maine. All right. I come in and they want me to lose to some idiot that I've never heard of. Right. And me being the idiot that I am, instead of looking for, you know, the experience or the payday, my stupid ass says, I'm not laying down for this guy. I'm not doing it. And to say that back then was so ignorant because I had no idea about the business. And anybody that does would look at that as, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what just be thankful for the opportunity. But I ended up wrestling Dragon on the show, believe it or not. I brought my own guy to wrestle.
Okay.
So, and that was the mentality back then, man. I just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I didn't care. And I probably slammed so many doors in my face because of that attitude. But
you know what's
that
funny?
was me, brother.
What's funny, Stud, is there's still a lot of the young kids now that come into the business. They're entitled, and they still have that mentality to some extent. You
know what? Listen to Studley Steve. I've been there. I've done that, and it doesn't help you. It hurts you. If people think they cannot work with you, they're not going to book you. Period. The end. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
It's funny when you look at the circle, how mistakes are still made decades and decades later.
Of course.
You know, and we have a lot of young kids, and it's amazing when they have the talent and their ears work. And like, I wish a lot of younger kids, and even like when we were coming up, that someone to pull you aside and say, "Hey, kid."
Oh yeah.
You know, and I mean, me and you know, we used to talk about it. Some days, either they didn't do it because they didn't like you, or they just didn't do it. And I think that's the difference. And nowadays, I think the kids, some days they think, I don't know if they think you're holding them back, holding them down, but the kids who listen, like we just had a conversation, twice this week, when the kids. Really good kid,
that's the thing.
Good talent.
What these young talents need to understand is, again, if you can't work with somebody, you're not going to book them, and you're not going to come in like Hulk Hogan into an organization. You have to pay your dues on the indies, on the mainstream, no matter where you go. I mean, look at the guys who came into AEW. Look at what they had to go through. Look at Swerve Strickland. All right, how many times has Swerve taken losses for the past 3 years to get where he is right now? And that guy I used to watch in Lucha Underground, he was fucking amazing back then. You know, all those guys that were in Lucha Underground, Pentagon, him, Dante Fox, there were a ton of them. Luchasaurus, shit. They were all there. And that was the first time I ever saw Swerve. And I was so impressed with him, but he took so many losses to get where he is now, you know? And it's all about working with the person. If somebody thinks you're going to hurt them, they're not going to work with you. And that was my biggest problem. Yeah, unfortunately.
Definitely. It's a shame because back then, like you said in the beginning, you didn't know any better. But some of these kids, they do know better. They are taught and warned how the business is, and they still do it. So, you know, hopefully.
Well, I'll never forget when Atlas took me outside that show in Maine and literally grabbed me by the shirt and said, "You fucking embarrassed me." You know what I mean? And he did. And I felt fucking horrible that entire ride home. So I fucked up. You know, I had an opportunity with Rumble and I blew it. And that was the reason why. I hurt the guy I worked.
Wow.
The Pink Assassin.
Oh, Pinky.
I love Pink. Actually,
because they put the Pink Assassin on me, man.
He's
I got pissed.
Yeah, definitely.
And the old Studley Steve, that disrespectful, man.
So, Stud, you know, here's a question for you. So, it seems like you still watch some of the product. You still watch wrestling. Obviously, you're still a fan of the business.
Oh, absolutely. I think AEW is doing some phenomenal things right now. Phenomenal.
Do you think with the way the wrestling scene is now and knowing what you know now, do you think Primal Conflict could come back and give a strong run and make some noise again in the 2020s?
Well, in order for that to happen, the product would have to change. It would have to evolve with the times. Unfortunately, hardcore wrestling isn't what it was back then. You know what I mean? You're not going to give somebody $20 to go in and take a board of nails over their face. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
You know, and back then, there were there were guys that would do that. You know what I mean? Just to get on TV. And you know, nowadays it's different. You know, and there's so many schools now. You know, there's so many places where you can get trained legitimately. You don't have to find Kowalski's anymore. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to Salisbury Beach to hopefully somebody takes mercy on you, you know, and trains you.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you know, go to Jersey. You don't have to. There's places everywhere now.
Yeah.
You know, I know Jose runs a hell of a school or is involved in a hell of a school, and I mean, there's a lot of guys. You guys, right?
Yeah. 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 We got the school going.
Schools are there. You know, if you want to be a wrestler, do it the right way. If you want to be a pro wrestler, do it the right way. Learn the mentality first. Learn the psychology first. Definitely. You know, the work will come, but the psychology has to be there. And I never had that. So, and you know what's really funny? I remember in 2014 sitting and actually standing up at the Hall of Fame and getting an award and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I looked down and Holly Race is sitting right in front of me. And I didn't know what to say. Like, if you ever watched my speech at the Hall of Fame, I'm literally tongue-tied, and you know me, I've never been at a loss for words. And for some reason, the fact that Holly Race, Greg Valentine, I think Jim Neidhart was there, but Holly Race right in front of me, man. And I look down and there he is. It's like, I idolized Holly Race for so many years. And to see him sitting right in front of me, seeing me accept that award was one of the greatest things in my life. So, definitely. And I'll always be grateful for Joe Bruin for that.
Definitely, you know, and I would hope that, you know, like yourself and others, I would hope Joe starts up a promoters wing in the Hall of Fame there, because there's a lot of promoters that, you know, including Rocco. I like to.
Hey, I think that's the only reason I got in the Hall of Fame was because of Primal. So,
yep. So
if it wasn't for Primal, I don't think I would ever get in.
I would have definitely. No, man, I would disagree with that, because, like I said, Stutler Steve was a marquee in New England wrestling, just like Gino Giovanni. And,
I appreciate that.
And some others. You know, you guys really stood out. Like I said, you were on that TV spot every week, and even if you didn't watch, you only had to watch once, because you know, you heard about you guys. And,
yeah.
It's different.
It was a fun time. It really was. It was a great time in my life, man. And, you know, nothing lasts forever. So if you're in that situation now, just appreciate every minute of it, because it can end in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
You know, I remember blowing my knee out and, you know, jumping 11 feet to the floor. I don't even know who I was wrestling, and blowing my knee out. That was the first time I ever felt that pain. So, and instead of getting it fixed like I should have, I just went home, and 3 days later I could walk again, you know. But that's what we did back then.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You know,
yeah,
there was
nobody
no time
did that.
off, or you lose your spot to somebody else.
That's it. Dude, I remember them taking like vials of fluid out of my knee, and the doctor saying to me in the emergency room, if you keep doing this, you're going to lose your leg.
So Steve, we're getting close to that time where we got to wrap things up. We like to play this little game called the name game before we let you go. So Chris Blackheart, you always go first.
I'll start with
You've heard some names. So
I did. Jose Perez.
Can't hear you, buddy.
He said Jose Perez.
Oh God. Jose Perez. Do you want my gimmick response or my real response?
No, I want the real response. This is all real.
So Jose Perez has been a friend and a brother for years and years and years. I couldn't have done Primal without Jose. There's no way. Jose was my booker and my world champion at one point. And without him, I would have never been able to do what I did.
Okay. Perry Saturn.
Perry Saturn will always be a teacher to me, you know. He went through some real horrible shit, and it was a horrible way for anybody to go through, you know. But Perry was always good to me. I know he was a vicious asshole to other people, but to me, he was always a good guy and always spent time with me. And instead of just telling me I was doing it wrong, he showed me how to do it right, and that was the big part.
John Callahan.
John Callahan. Oh God. My first real experience with someone that knew what the hell they were doing. I mean, him and Big City Mike really showed me the ropes out there when I first got there. You know, John was the reason. I mean, he was the one that booked me, him and Big City. So they must have liked something about me because they kept booking me every week. So, and by the way, Salisbury Beach was the first time I ever got paid to wrestle. So
That's
that
always
was huge.
that's always a plus, man. That's
And that was John and Big City Mike.
okay. Uh, Joe Eugenio.
Again, Joe Eugene, I'll always be grateful to Joe for giving me the opportunity in Yankee Pro. Work is work. And, for me, Joe always paid me. I never had a problem with Joe. I'm not Dougie, so, but he always paid me, and he was always, always a decent person to me. And I don't have anything really bad to say about Joe, to be honest.
Sandy Starr.
Oh, God. Sandy Starr is a legend. Again, I couldn't have done Primal without Sandy Starr. Sandy Starr was instrumental in a lot of things that I had done that were over the top. Another one that would bleed before she got out of the curtain. All she wanted to do was bleed. That's all she wanted. Stud, can I bleed? Can I bleed? Can I bleed? So I'd have her go in, get hit in the head, and that was it. Even if she wasn't working, I would have her run in and get hit in the head. Every show, just for the hell of it.
That was good.
So,
Gorgeous Gino Giovanni.
Gorgeous Gino. So yeah, he was an understudy, but turned out to be so much more, and really took that gimmick and ran with it and made it his own. And look at how far he got with it, So this is somebody that was wearing this little leotard thing that showed how tiny he was, until I said, yo, put a tuxedo on. Wrestle with a tuxedo on. Nobody will see how big you are.
Yeah.
And as he started filling out, things got different as he got older. But at first, no one would even take him seriously. And when he was with me, they took him seriously. Trust me.
Good. Chris?
I'll do Scarecrow.
Scarecrow. Balls Mahoney, man. The chair shot heard around New England. Scarecrow took a chair shot from Balls Mahoney at Brutal Beatings that has never been replicated. I've never seen anything like it. There's a chair floating around in somebody's house right now with a big dent with his forehead in it. So he hit him so hard. If you ever watch Brutal Beatings, it's on Chop's videos, I think, on YouTube.
Yep.
If you ever watched that show, you could see it, that chair shot. Not Brutal Beatings. What was it called? Oh, yeah, Brutal Beatings. That was it. Yep. Check that chair shot out, man. You'll never believe it.
My last one is Rocco D'Alessandro.
Rocco was like a father to me. Rocco took me under his wing and made me Studley Steve Stallion. Without Rocco, there was no Studley Steve. Rocco gave me opportunity upon opportunity. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, he let me carry the banner for the New England Wrestling Alliance, and he trusted that I would make them look halfway decent. And I tried. I really did. I tried to put us on the map back in the day. I thought I was putting us on the map a lot more than I actually was, but, Rocco gave me tons of opportunities.
Well, it's been real stud having you on the pod, man. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, this was a good one. Thank you.
This
I
is
appreciate
definitely
it.
a good one, and I thank you, for paving the way for guys like me. Like I said, I used to watch you on the Interconnect there before I got started with the NEWA. So thanks for everything you did ahead of my time.
Of course.
We'll have to do this again, man.
Absolutely.
We'll have to have you come to one of the shows.
Hey,
and
might have to show up at Showcase, man.
Yes,
you never
man,
know.
definitely. The invite's there, man.
Might have to build a Studley Steve faction in Showcase Pro Wrestling, man.
I see a new segment coming.
Anytime, man. Yeah,
Oh, shit.
I like it.
Just don't beat the shit out of one against
Nah. That's old Studley Steve.
All right, Steve.
All right,
man.
guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for being on.
Have a great night, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. There you go. There you have it. Studley Steve Stallion, original NEWA member and Primal Conflict owner and promoter on the Showcase Pod. We get into the plugs.
Yeah. We actually, which one do you want to go into quick?
Yeah, we go into quickly because, it was a good one. It was a long one. This Saturday night, December 9th, we're back at the Showcase Pro Wrestling Arena and Training Center, 126 Main Street in Woonsocket for the closing of the year.
Closing of the year. It'd be the first time forever that Puerto Ricans Most Wanted, no tag team title, walking almost naked down that aisle without any gold. Look at that face right there.
You're happy.
No, I'm not happy. I am just telling the news. See, unlike some of the local news, I tell the facts. I tell how it is.
Well, you
I
also
don't have to make up news. I just tell what happened.
you're also missing the actuality of what happened and how I got hit
All
with
right,
that
so
clipboard and
all right.
you
Well,
missed that part.
no, I saw her.
You're happy about that.
No, I didn't say I was happy about it, but that's what happened. Everything in wrestling goes by the referee. That will be up very soon on this channel, SP Wrestling. That
Yeah.
match will be up, and you can see how the educator, as he would say, how the educator won the Showcase Wrestling Tag Team Championship.
So he's talking about a coronation, and he ran out of there with both titles. You know, I'm gonna tell you, he thinks he's smart.
Well, no,
But
he is smart. He has a
he
degree
might
to
be
prove
he
it.
might be a smart, he might have a degree, but I guarantee you, he's not ready for what's about to happen. I'm gonna leave it at that. But
All right. But for those who
December
are
9th,
ready, Saturday night, 707 126 Main Street, coming off the first time in over a decade, the Woonsocket City Stroll for Christmas. We came, we helped, we saw.
yeah, of the
So,
situation there, there was like,
well, no, we can tell stories next week
yeah, we'll tell
because there's a
stories
lot of
next
stories
week
coming out. We'll
somehow.
have a lot of stories, as we know. There's a small show tomorrow night in Providence, Rhode Island, from a little
Yeah,
company down in Connecticut.
yeah,
They're doing an event at a small arena
yeah, yeah,
in Providence, so
yeah. Who knows who might be there? Who
you
knows who
never know
might
who's being.
show
And there's
up?
stories coming out of that. We can't tell you already, but we'll tell you most
Yeah.
likely next week.
But definitely some of the matches for this Saturday, like you said, you're celebrating ahead of time. But the Sons of Liberty title will be on the line as Alex Rated, the game changer, will take
All right,
on
all right.
Christopher Spratt. So he might be
Yes,
a belt
yeah.
short come the new year.
No, which is fine, and the championship committee approved it. There's a lot of rematches on that card.
Uh, I will be taking on the student Daniel Cabral. So
You like Cabral, don't you?
he's got potential. I just think that he's carrying around some negative weight
Yeah.
in the lights of D-Rex and Spratt. I don't trust that kid D-Rex.
He is
But
he is a little smug. He
th-
he, he is
then
smug.
again, I mean, you're supporting these guys, and now you're saying
What are you
he's a little
supporting? I am telling the news.
It's on the news. Fake news?
No, this is all real.
Oh, okay, all right. I just thought. But we're going into the new year, and our first show in the new year,
Actually,
January 6th,
January 6th is a fantastic day for
bringing back the new
Showcase
year.
for Wrestling.
Yes.
The New Year Fantasy Camp between 3 and 6 in Woonsocket. That is one of the best gifts you can get anybody for $49. They can live out their dream to be a pro wrestler for that day. This is 13 plus. So if you're 13 with a parent and or guardian permission, and they will have to be there to watch. Or if you're somebody who is slightly older bracket, 40s, 50s, even 60s, you want to put this on your bucket list, it's a great way to get involved in pro wrestling. Bring your cameras, bring any gear that you have. It is the ultimate fan package for anyone who want to do it. And then that show, first one
Of the year.
first one of the year, 707.
p.m. Bell time there
Yes,
in Woonsocket. Following week,
doubleheader.
we're back at the Taunton BFW Hall. 7:47 p.m. bell time there. And the next day, we return to Franklin, Massachusetts, Saturday night, 7:07 p.m. bell time. And the main event on that card has been signed as New England's favorite star, Teddy Goods, will take on MLW superstar Ichiban. Tickets are on sale, showcaseprowrestling.com.
Yes, they are.
I don't know if Danny pulled out that QR code. You could go online and purchase tickets. But anyways, all the information, showcaseprowrestling.com, at SP Wrestling and all our social media. You want to see Chris Blackheart dance, you might go to TikTok. I don't know your preference, but that's how it is. OnlyFans,
No,
maybe he's
no.
got one of those too. Who knows? People brag about that all the time. But up until next week, that's all I have. You got
That's
something
it.
else?
Santa Claus is going to be there Saturday night in Woonsocket.
Santa Claus is coming?
Yes.
All right. There you have it. Santa Claus will be in Woonsocket this Saturday night. You don't want to miss it. 126 Main Street, Showcase Pro Wrestling Training Center. But for now, this has been the Showcase Pod. I am Don Vega, Chris Blackheart. We'll catch you down the road.